Hello and welcome to The Real World. My name's Cameron. Today I wanted to break down my top 10 favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Today marks its 30th anniversary. It was released 30 years ago, September 5th, 1992. So this is one of my favorite animated series of all time. It kind of defines what Batman is for me and for many others. So I wanted to break down my favorite episodes for you right now. Here we go. Starting with my number 10, On Leather Wings. This is the first episode produced for the series, and it is excellent. It introduces this world of Gotham City to us, the audience. Huge metropolis, always nighttime, always dark and dreary, sometimes raining. There are these huge blimps in the sky, these spotlights down on the city. It is absolutely breathtaking to look at. It has that very noir feel, which this animated series kind of brought to the forefront. It's sort of set up like a Universal monster movie in many ways. This episode features a character called Man-Bat, and this character is committing all these crimes in Gotham City. Of course, everyone thinks it is Batman doing this. Batman has to solve the mystery of the Man-Bat. This is one of those detective stories that Batman is known for, and it really sets up the series in a really impactful, important way. And this is sort of the template for the series moving forward, so it's a great place to start if you have not seen this series before. It is, like I said, the first one produced. It wasn't actually the first one that aired on television, but it is the first episode they produced for the show and was always intended to be sort of the pilot of the series. In at number 9 is episode 7 of the first season, POV. This episode features police officers and their perspective on Gotham City and Batman. So it's a really interesting episode. There's not a lot of Batman in it, but it is really well done. Officer Wilkes, Officer Montoya, and Detective Bullock, Harvey Bullock, who plays an important role throughout the show. They're all featured here in a botched police operation, and they each have to give their testimony on what happened. And so you get these three different perspectives. It's sort of like the movie Rashomon, and other movies have done this since then, but this is one of those multiple perspectives on the same situation movie kind of plots. And we have to get to the truth of what actually happened. So a really fascinating, fun mystery we have to unravel in this episode. In at number 8 is Two-Face. This is a two-part episode, fittingly. Episode 10 and 11 of the first season introduce District Attorney Harvey Dent, who is a good friend of Bruce Wayne in this show. He's being blackmailed by a mobster who shows up multiple times throughout the series, Rupert Thorne. So the first episode is about how Harvey Dent became Two-Face. The second episode is about how Two-Face is seeking revenge on Rupert Thorne for his disfigurement. We really get a tragic episode here because, like I said, Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent are good friends at the beginning of this episode. And you get to see how their relationship deteriorates, how Harvey Dent falls apart. It is really, really well done. Great voice acting here by everybody involved. My number 7 is Feet of Clay. This is the 20th and 21st episode of this first season. And so yes, it is again a part 2. We're getting the origin of Clayface here. This is a villain that has not appeared in any of the films, so many people will not know who this is. But if you're familiar with the comic books, you certainly know who Clayface is. Bruce Wayne is framed for the attempted murder of Lucius Fox. Of course, this was not actually Bruce Wayne. This was another character named Matt Hagen. He is a disgruntled actor who's been disfigured in an accident and now uses face cream called Renew You to reshape his face back to normal. After he fails to murder Lucius Fox due to Batman's interference, the experimental cream is dumped on him by his employer Daggett, and he ingests it, which turns him into the shape-shifting villain Clayface. So now Batman must stop him from enacting revenge on Daggett while also bringing Daggett to justice. And this is another sort of template for these types of episodes. Someone will kind of transform into a villain and then seek revenge on whoever was responsible. This is a really good one. I really hope we see this villain in one of the movies soon. It's a really interesting character, and he works great in this episode. I think this is one of the best villains in the entire series. Number 6, The Man Who Killed Batman. This is episode 51 of season 1, and they do a great job here telling a very unique story. This is one that focuses more on the criminals than it does on Batman. A small-time gangster named the Squid seems to kill Batman by accident, and he quickly rises through the ranks of Gotham City's underworld, working with the likes of Joker and Rupert Thorne. We get really interesting scenes here where the criminals react to the death of Batman, including Joker himself, who mourns him in his own twisted way. Mark Hamill as the Joker is phenomenal, and he does some of his best work in this episode. My number 5 is Almost Got 'Em. This is the 46th episode of the first season, and it's all about Joker, Killer Croc, Penguin, Two-Face, and Poison Ivy all playing a game of poker while they discuss how each of them nearly defeated the Batman. It's a really funny episode. We get a lot of great humor with all of these villains interacting with each other. This is one where we get to know these villains a lot better. This one also has a great twist ending you won't see coming. In at number 4 is Beware the Grey Ghost. This is the 18th episode of season 1, and they do an excellent job here calling back to the history of Batman, because Adam West himself, the original Batman from the 1960s TV series, is here as Simon Trent, who's sort of an older, down-on-his-luck actor who is looking to revive his career. And he's selling off this merchandise from this old series where he played this character called the Grey Ghost, who is sort of a vigilante. And we find out later that Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, grew up watching the show, so he was inspired by this character to become Batman. So Batman has to team up with Simon Trent, the actor, to track down a criminal who is using aspects of this old TV series to commit crimes. Has this great kind of retro throwback style. It's an interesting team up with Batman and another character that we don't really get to see a lot of in this show at this point. And it's all kind of about meeting your heroes. It's a really interesting episode. I think you'll get a big kick out of it. In at number 3 is Perchance to Dream. This is the It's a Wonderful Life episode of Batman the Animated Series. Bruce Wayne wakes up to find his parents alive. He's engaged to Selina Kyle. There's no Batcave. However, Batman still exists. As much as he enjoys this new life, he knows it's not real. So Bruce must uncover the mystery of what's really going on here. It's an interesting episode. A villain shows up who we don't get to see a lot of, and he's used really well here. And so I think a lot of Batman fans like this episode because, again, it is sort of that what if episode. What if Bruce Wayne's parents didn't die? What would have happened? It features probably the best performance from Kevin Conroy, who is, of course, the greatest Batman of all time, in my opinion. I think he's excellent in this series throughout every episode, but here he's doing some really, really good stuff. Some emotional moments here with Bruce that I think is really good. My number 2 is Heart of Ice. This is the 14th episode of season 1. In this episode, Mr. Freeze is the main villain, and he is seeking revenge on GothCorp CEO Ferris Boyle. Batman must bring Boyle to justice while stopping Freeze from killing him. We find out Mr. Freeze's origin story, which is a tragic one. He is one of the great villains of the entire series. What they did with Mr. Freeze and retelling his origin story here is really compelling. The voice acting here is superb. It's a really emotional story. It's well done on every level. A lot of good action sequences here as well. And Mr. Freeze is a character that comes back a number of times, including in the animated film Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. In at number 1 is I Am the Night. This is the 49th episode of season 1, and it's all about Batman and his relationship with Commissioner Gordon. On the anniversary of the death of the Waynes, Batman and his psychiatrist Leslie Tompkins go to visit Crime Alley, where his parents were shot down. And while this is going on, Commissioner Gordon is staking out a drug ring run by a criminal known as the Jazzman. A firefight breaks out, gunshots, bullets are flying everywhere, and one of them strikes Commissioner Gordon himself. Batman shows up too late, and Gordon has been seriously wounded. Batman blames himself for not being there in time and considers hanging up the cape and the cowl. This is a real crisis moment for Batman, and he goes through a lot, soul-searching, discovering why he's doing what he's doing, the way he's doing it, if what he's doing is right, or wrong? Is it making things worse or better? It's a really interesting episode psychologically. The voice acting here again is superb by Kevin Conroy. He really lets us into the psyche of Batman in a way that few other actors have. So I Am the Night is my number one favorite Batman the Animated Series episode. That's my top 10. I want to know what your top 10 is in the comments below. Be sure you let us know. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications of all our videos here at The Real World, and we'll see you next time.